Cheers, fellas.
Good evening, guys. It's Monday. It's the day after the night, after the day, after the night, after the day, after the night. Yeah, we know what happened over the weekend. Yeah, look, we're going to talk about, we will. It's me, Mr. B. It's bath time as usual. It's a Monday, Juma, and we have a special guest who we will introduce. We will get to introduce himself right after this. Good evening, everyone, and I will get you up on this one, sir, so that we can see your beautiful face. How are you doing, sir? And could you give yourself, I tell you what, no, what I will say is this. Guys, if United fans, you know who Jimmy Murphy is. We actually have the pleasure of having his grandson on today, Paul. We're going to get his views on a few things. So, Paul, the floor is yours, my friend. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for the invite, and I look forward to the discussion with you guys and pick the bones out of yesterday and maybe touch on Grandad at some point as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Good. On Monday, I've got you. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right, mate. I've got you.
Thank you.
Right, guys.
By the way, before we start, I just want to say big up to Mr. B. You went to St. George's over the weekend, and I was going to ask you backstage, but we didn't have time. But yeah, how was it? Is it a beautiful complex? Are you inspired? Are you ready to get your teeth into your Sunday team now? I mean, you must be so excited right now.
It was a good day. I'll be honest, it was a good day. I learned a lot. I'll be honest, the talking part of it wasn't really what I went there for, but they had a training session for maybe a couple of hours. They had some kids doing some drills and stuff. And I just went up high and just watched a few things. They had us on mic, so they stopping drills and explaining things as they were going. So yeah, I've learned a lot. Whether I'm good enough to educate my players as to what I saw, I have no idea. But Saturday's gonna be fun. Saturday's gonna be fun. I have no idea how the results went on Saturday, but Jimmy, what we normally do the first couple of minutes of the show is just talk about our weekend's football. So I'll make mine very, very brief. We won 5-3. We're halfway up the league now, and we've got a quarter-final next week. So we're ready to rock and roll and start implementing my my new coaching tactics.
New regime.
How did you do on Monday?
I don't want to talk about it, to be honest. We lost 5-0. There's a team. They set up the new structure of the leagues, and there's a team that was in the first division. We're in the third division, and they broke up. But they had another side in our division, which we used to beat all the time. So about 10 of their players from the first team, from the first division, have come down to our division, and they beat us 5-0. I went and scouted them last week. I told the boys what we were up against, and they were completely. Yeah, they completely. It's like having ringers. Basically, they're just much better players. But saying that, I still think we can beat them. I still think they can. It sounds, after losing 5-0 to a team, you think, I can still beat them. But it's like Man United lost to City yesterday, and I don't think we can beat them. But I do think we could beat Harry St. Mary's. But well done, Harry St. Mary's. You're a very good team. But it just gives me motivation to come back stronger. And I've put in the group chat tonight. I put like tactics board up and explain what went wrong and giving it all out. And people were fighting after the game, threatening each other. Adil got threatened with his life by one of our players. But we want to see some sort of reaction, some bounce back. I want to know what happened to Bath Time's team.
Well, we won on Monday in a pretty comfortable 3-0, standard performance, easy. Paul, do you still play football?
Oh no, I retired a few years ago. My knees have knackered. I tried a bit of five-a-side, but I couldn't walk for 3 days afterwards. So I've just canned it altogether. I've tried walking football, but it's just not the same. It's I enjoy the lads and everything, but it's
That's what United
It's not
play,
fair.
basically, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Oh wow. Well, look, you know what? Let's get the show started, guys. We've got a few. Yes, we've turned into that channel, but you know what? I love them. I absolutely love them. So look, topics for the day. Ten Hag, the man. We've got a vote of confidence. We've got his style of play. We can question his signings, agree with his signings. You know we're going to have to discuss Rashford, Bruno, and we've got some insider quotes to stick our teeth into. On Monday, could you just go through some of these messages, please?
Certainly, there's a lot of them. I'm just going to say hi to the majority of them. Big up to Jeff. He started the show, so I'm going to read this out. He said, this should be a fun show. I believe more and more in Ten Hag that he wants to leave this chaos and go to coach a proper football club again. I think he will be sacked, but if not, I think he lets his contract run out. Big T got a lot of responses to that. The first one I'm going to read out. Finally, thought my language. Judges solely on decisions made on the pitch. He has to go. Never mind anything else. So he's drawn a line in the sand there. Big T wants him out, as you can see there. I want to say hi to Big G. We've got Big T, and Big G. This is going to be confusing. How you doing, Big G? He's cussing us for running late. Big up to Solo. Obviously, he's giving us the eyeballs and laughing. Yes, Solo, you are our promoter, our fixer, and you've done this us proud today with our special guest today. Big up to Matty, Football United TV. Go and subscribe to his channel. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, we've got the Bounce Off the Ropes podcast, boxing podcast. That was a big talking point over the weekend, wasn't it? Vincent's in the house. Ed Mayhem, how you doing? Box as well, in the house as well. Bounce Off the Ropes, he says here, if Ten Hag goes, who will replace him? We need to keep him, as Arsenal kept Arteta, and they look much better for it. Remember, Arsenal came 8th twice under Arteta, and they said kept with him. Jay saying here, big up to everyone. How you doing, Jay United? We've got Bilal in the house as well, and Rajat. He said hello. Who else? Teddy. How you doing, Teddy? Evening, guys, and all in the chat. And a big welcome to everyone here as well. May need to have a new coach. That's for you, Mr. B. So, application going. Make sure you apply for our new head coach at Man United.
I don't know what you're talking about, head coach. We don't need a head coach. Come on now, let's not get it twisted. Now look, we've had a vote of confidence. It wasn't the dreaded vote of confidence, you know, the public one that comes out 2 days before the players get the manager gets sacked. But Erik Ten Hag retains the full backing of the Manchester United board, and Chief Executive Richard Arnold believes the club is making good progress. That's from Samuel Lockhurst. Paul, I'm going to come to you first. What are your feelings on this so-called vote of confidence?
Oh, look, you tend to look at post-Ferguson. We've had 6 more managers, and they've all failed. And I just think, and they've been good managers. You know, you Van Gaal, you Mourinho's, you Moyes to an extent. So do you blame the manager or do you blame the players? And I just think, you know, you touched on Rashford there. Last season, he was terrific. As soon as he gets his 5-year contract, he's gone back to square one again. And I don't know if it's the players or it's the manager. I understand the manager has to bring the best out of the players. But, you know, you keep blaming the managers, but then have you got to point at the players as well and say, look, you know, you're not performing every week. You don't give it your all. Martial, there's no running with him. It just seems lazy. There's no leader on the pitch. So I don't know. Ten Hag, you've got to give him a chance, I think. But you know, do you point the finger at the players? It's a difficult one. You don't want to keep swapping managers every season. That's what we don't want to do. And you know, are the right players there? That's sort of, I'd be questioning the players' attitudes. And you know, you're playing with the biggest badge in my eyes in the world, and a lot of players, it weighs heavy on the shoulders sometimes. You know, look at the greats we've had even in the Ferguson era. They just, as soon as they put the shirt on the backs, it just weighs them down. And a lot of players, I don't think, because you're in the spotlight. every day. You have a bad game, you're all over the papers, and I don't think that happens with any other club. I think it weighs heavy. You look at Mason Mount at the moment; he's not doing it. And I thought he was an okay player at Chelsea, but you've got to look at the players as well as the manager. And I think Ten Hag is. I spoke to you guys earlier, and I met him on Tuesday night at Copenhagen game, and the guy's positive. He's confident. He knows what he wants. So do you blame the players also? But I don't know. It's a tough one. But I don't want to keep swapping managers every season. You've got to stick with it. And like you mentioned before about Arteta, Arsenal finished 2 seasons running, and now he's turned it round. And the players have got to believe in the manager as well. But have we got the right players in? I don't know. That's my opinion.
OMONDI.
Yeah, big up, man. I agree with you, Mr. Murphy. Look, we need to stick with the manager. Like you said, it takes a long time to turn things around. Arsenal haven't won a league in 20 years. They've never won a European Cup, and they're turning around and they're buzzing by being contenders. They haven't even won anything yet, but playing a good brand of football. That's the football one. If you want to play a good brand of football, it takes time to make that change and turnaround to get your team to play football. I've got faith in Ten Hag. He's come with good backing. We've seen what he did at Ajax. We've seen what his CV is pretty good, and he talks well. I'm sure we were all in awe when he first came to the club, and we saw that's exactly what we needed. Someone who's strong, someone who's determined, someone who's got a bit of discipline about him. And as we were talking the other day, bath time, don't interrupt me on this one, but to deal with children. All children need discipline, and all footballers need discipline too, regardless of what era we're saying this is in. It's the same things apply. I think the same as training, the same training values and all that kind of thing applied 50 years ago. They still apply today. This is how you get the best out of football players as well. And we're going to have to take some losses. We're going to lose a lot of battles on the way. We're going to lose players. Ronaldo walked out on us. Sancho looks like he's walking out on us because there's a divide here. Do we want the traditional values, which I think Ten Hag's bringing, or do we want to sort of be a bit more laid back, say, all right, you can get away with that, you can get away with that, and as what was happening before, there's whispers that players were running the show. Mourinho tried to deal with it. He got kicked out because Pogba didn't like the way he was carrying on. So I think with everything we've been through, everything we've experienced as Man United fans, we've got to say, look, guys, we understand the players are in control here. Let's flip it on its head and get the manager in charge again, and don't start crying if we lose a few games or we have a bit of bad form, which is going to happen because the manager's installing some discipline out here. So I'm 100% behind the manager right now. I think if I was going to the stadium, you wouldn't hear a boo or a whimper from me. I'll be backing him 100%. I know, because we've got to be realistic out here. When we signed this guy, we said give him 2, 3, 4 windows of transfers to get it right. First season was magnificent, considering where we're coming from, third place and a cup, and getting to the FA Cup final as well. This season hasn't been so good, but it doesn't mean you say, right, scrap that, throw it in the bin and start again, because that's taking more steps back than actually entrusting in someone and going forward, because in the end, you wean out all the shit. You empty the swamp. That's what we need to do. Empty the swamp, and you'll start to see who are the parasites in the club, whether it's players, coaches, staff, whatever, or the stadium, the rats in the stadium. Just get rid of all this crap. We don't need it. And Ten Hag's the man to lead us. So I'm with Ten Hag, and I will back him throughout the whole show. And I'm not, not to be stubborn or anything, but I think I've said enough here with my man Murphy as well to justify why he should stay.
Bath time.
Hello.
Same opinion, difference of opinion?
No, difference of opinion. I mean, like, I've heard, stuff about sort of like discipline of the players and things. I've never seen a situation that United have got in with Ronaldo going and giving an interview, Sancho having to train by himself and lock himself in the bogs, and all these sort of things. I think that's a failure of management. Like, those players have never done anything like that outside of this football club, and I think the manager could have handled it better. But at the moment, I veer more to Ten Hag out than in, but I also believe that we're in a mess at the moment, and he's got to be given the opportunity to show he can get himself out of it. So I personally think that we should really evaluate him around Christmas, because at the end of this week, our season could be over. Like with this time next week, Carabao Cup, Champions League, all this sort of stuff could be over till the FA Cup in January. And I don't even think winning the FA Cup is enough for an acceptable season. So I mean, we'll get more into specifics later of why I have serious doubts that Ten Hag is the man to turn it around. But I'd like to hear what the comments have to say on this, as it's a community show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge right now. I'm going to miss out a few, so forgive me if I do. Vincent says, good to see my mate Paul on the show. He's saying here, never forget the day I met you, mate. It was a great day. There you go, Paul. That's from our very own Vincent, who goes to all the home games as well. I think Mount was brought in to replace Bruno Fernandes, says WWE 2K. Big up to Matthew Bassett, by the way. I see you, bro. I see you, as Mr. B would say. Ten Hag deserves all the negative comments for those subbing Amrabat off. For what reason? And putting McTominay as a number 6 was a bad call. That's on J United. Big up to Tyrone Williams. Said Marcus Rashford has been playing since Louis van Gaal became manager. It's about time he got dropped. He's been dreadful for months. Big up Tyrone. Ed Mayhem, how you doing? He says, I think the players just play how they feel like because they know they won't get dropped. So that's down to the managers again. UK Strange saying Cristiano was the problem, he said. Big G saying here, Erik Ten Hag hasn't got the players he needs for the style he wants. Until then, Erik Ten Hag needs to adapt tactics for the players he has. One-dimensional, in my opinion, he's saying. Box, how you doing? He says Ten Hag only disciplines certain players. Other players he gives a free white ride to. Big T is saying here, you win the league or you don't. Second or 16th, don't make no difference. Both not good enough. Celebrating second is a joke. Jay is saying again, Bruno needs to be strict with his captaincy, but for who? Who would? For who? Casemiro, Varane. One gets red cards, the other's always injured. Rashford needs to be sold to PSG. They're incoming. I can see it happening now. I want to big up to Matthew Bassett. He's saying here, players got control the moment the Glazers picked Martial over Mourinho. You wouldn't see that happen in any other top club. Some great comments coming in. And finally, from me, Wildlife Machine, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. He's saying, I stand with the manager. Bruno, Rashford need to step up their game. I'm going to leave it for now, but keep the comments coming in. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, well, we had a few issues, a few variants. So, we'll go to our next one. Ten Hag quotes for the game. Now, there was a lot of well, I don't know what the word is. A lot of bewilderment, maybe, as to who's missing on here. Oh, why can't I get this up? What have I done? Oh wow! Look, I'm trying to be smart here, guys. One sec. I'm not the tech guy. Forgive me. Right. Look, we'll leave it like that. We're going to get the quotes up. You lot soak in the quotes, and we'll get our faces back up. First off, we had a very good game plan, and execution was also very good. From chances, it was very toe-to-toe. The 3 games before we won, and the spirit was very good. I think we are on the way up. We will never play the football we played at Ajax here, he said. What's that? I now have different players. That's not why I came here. That quote caused a lot of bewilderment and maybe a touch of anger in regards to what we spent, but we'll get into the spending part in a bit. Do you think he was talking it up? Because I definitely don't think he was trying a Mourinho diversion tactic there. If it was very, very subtle. Very, 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 very subtle. What do you feel about his quotes, Paul?
It's the first time I've seen those quotes. I didn't want to listen to anything yesterday, so it's the first time I've actually seen them. But I don't know. We spoke earlier. I think 20 minutes of the game we did okay. You're against the great. It pains me to say it, greatest team in the world at the moment. And I watched a bit of it, and he said if McTominay would have scored that chance he had at the end of the first half, it could have been different. I don't think it was. I don't think City got out first gear, to be fair. And we were just chasing the game as soon as they scored. And then they would say the Højlund should have gone down when he was through. And even if we would have scored the McTominay goal, I still think we would have got beaten. But look, we had 20 minutes of the game, and then one of the comments before that he changed Varane and put McTominay further a bit deeper, and you kind of scratch your head thinking, you do question sometimes his sort of tactical changes, and I don't want to slag him off too much because I don't want to slag him off at all. I think we spoke earlier. We've got to give him a chance, and look, I don't know. It is bewildering. You do scratch your head at times, but you just hope that he's got a plan and he's going to execute it soon, and we're going to be back challenging for the titles again, cups, and we'll wait and see. But I don't know. It's a tough one. You do scratch your head at times, and the guy's under pressure. I think he knows that as well, and you've got to be careful what you say at times. And
where do you think the pressure's coming from? Where do you think the pressure's coming from? Do you think the pressure's actually coming from the fan base, or do you think a lot of this is press related?
Probably media. I think there are disgruntled fans also. There was probably a few boos around Old Trafford yesterday, and he's going to hear that. He's going to read the papers, and whether he reads the papers, or I'm not sure, but it's negative at the moment. Everything's negative around him, and you've got to have big shoulders to manage Manchester United. And, hopefully he's got the big shoulders, and we can. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's dark days at the moment, and I just hope he's got a plan and he executes it soon. But yeah, it's you've just got to keep the faith. And we've had dark days before, and unfortunately, since Ferguson left, it's been dark and more dark than light. But we've always come back, and we're a sleeping giant at the moment, and we're hurting. And I think when we come back, we'll be better and bigger and better than we have been. You've just got to keep going and believing.
Well, look, hopefully his shoulders aren't in proportion to his hands, because he did say they were quite small earlier on. So look, we go with it. OMONDI, style of play, my friend.
Well, I beg you, let me just read this out, because he's been a member for 17 months now. That's Matthew Bassett. And he said, how do we turn it around? There's a question he's actually asking here. And also a big up to Rich Sports as well. Go and subscribe to Rich Sports. One of our favourites out here. Big up Rich Sports. Okay, so the quote came out. He was asked something. He referred to Ajax. Now, there's a huge difference, like day and night. Ajax is one of the top clubs in Holland. I know right now they're not doing too well.
They're bottom.
Well, let's not go there. But traditionally, they win. I mean, they've got 3 in a row. They've got 4 Champions Leagues, one more than us, 195. They won 3 in a row in the early 70s as well. And they've got a tradition of bringing in some great players. But there's less pressure, I believe, at Ajax. So you can't compare the two jobs. So he made a comparison about the style of play at Ajax. I think with Ajax, you've got an opportunity to bring players through, less pressure. You're going to be competing for Feyenoord and PSV. Beat those two teams, and you've got a chance of being in the top 3, or at least winning the title. Come to Man United in the Premier League, and in this era, this day and age, it's tough. There's so many great teams out there with money being pumped into the league, and the pressure is tip-top. Now, one quote I always hear the manager saying is, we're Man United, we have to win every game. So he hasn't got the time to do what he did at Ajax by bringing youngsters through, creating these Gravenberches or all these sort of great Dutch players they seem to have time to do there. He's had to do it slowly and integrate these players in slowly. And so that's in the back of his mind, but also he has to create a style of football which is not Ajax style, but he has to deal with the physicality. He's mentioned that before. He wants every game to be about winning your duels and that physicality thing, because sometimes we've been lacking in that respect. And Ralph Rangnick pointed that out as well. So the physicality side of things has to be implemented. He's got players like McTominay has to implement into the side as well. He's got a different amount of players and squad, a different style of football over in England, which you can't compete playing that possession football necessarily, like Louis van Gaal tried to impose on our game. It didn't work straight away, in the Premiership. So he has to adapt. And this is about growing as a coach as well. So I think he's on a learning curve, trying to adapt and find the right solution and balance with what he knew before, with possession-based football. As we knew, when Steve McClaren went to Holland, he drew his first game 1-1. He was so disappointed, but they said to him, "Don't worry, you had 70% possession. That's exactly what you wanted." So it's really, there's the different sort of ideals out there, ethos of football. Here he comes here. It's a results game about winning, and he has to adapt. So I think he's having to sort of slowly take baby steps to get that balance of what he really wants. And that's why he brought in Steve McClaren. He's got experience of Premier League football. I've seen a lot of disrespect to Steve McClaren in the comments, but he knows more than us. He's got his badges. I'm sure he's got a wealth of experience, a bit like Roy Hodgson. He's an Englishman who's actually travelled around Europe and got that experience there, like that old Hungarian coach who, went and managed a great Hungarian team from the 54.
On Monday, please. Come on, man.
It's about bringing the English style of game.
1954.
Yes, the Hungarian team of the 50s were fantastic. They were managed by an Englishman.
That was 70 years ago, Amon.
I know, but I'm giving you a comparison about Roy Hodgson and Steve McClaren, who they're getting disrespected in
both 70.
Who are both experiences in going abroad and getting that experience out there and integrating English style with different blends of European football as well. This is why I say you've got to give the man a lot more time, because he's having to adapt as well. You can't just come in and say, "This is my tactic. This is how we're going to play our style of football here," because it doesn't always work. If that was the case,
right. On Monday,
yeah.
When we got this guy, was he coming in as like someone who was going to learn on the job? Or was he coming in as the elite manager, the elite tactician that was available at the time?
To answer that, I think what we thought was he was the most modern, youngest, up-to-date, sort of vibrant manager in Europe because of what he'd done getting to the semi-final with Ajax, and that was good credentials. We looked at Klopp; he was the guy before that. We look at Pep. There's not many out there, but he was the guy who's like, okay, he seems to be the next best thing. Let's get him in. So he's had to come over here. He was in demand, by the way, I believe. And he's come to us and with his style of football, but he's had to adapt because the brutality of what's going on in our club and the brutality of what's going on in the Premier League, we are so far behind that it's going to take a project.
All the guys that you mentioned have had to adapt as well, and they've adapted successfully.
Who's had to adapt?
Klopp and Pep. Pep finished fourth in his first.
Didn't Klopp come 8th and wasn't really successful until he got that Philip Coutinho money from the Neymar deal?
Yeah, and you saw progress on the pitch. Are you seeing, in terms of style of play, are you seeing progress on the pitch towards a style of football that is both arousing and is going to win trophies?
It's about winning games and results. So the style of play...
That's a different question, Amonde. I'm asking
No, it isn't. It's about style of play. That's what's come up now. It's about results and we're winning. So this is my point. He's had to adapt, getting a style of play. It's not about being pretty all the time, about winning games and then bringing the style into it. I think winning games is the first priority, and the style is something you have to build in the background, which will take a bit longer to come through.
But do you not just see this as sort of like excuses from the comments he's made? I just see what I see is I see someone who's out of touch with what is going on at the stadium. Like, he can't be unaware that people are booing when Rasmus comes off, that people are not happy with his decisions, and then he comes out and says, like, look, my reputation was built on Ajax, but we can't do things the Ajax way here. So what are you going to do? That's what I think, that these are excuses when he comes out and talks about the style of play.
Paul, as you watching it from the stands, have you seen a style change this season?
No, but what kind of... We bought Højlund. We've been screaming for a big centre forward for years. I like that style of play. I think a big centre forward's a terrific asset to any team. But he's not playing to his strength. He's not playing with the wingers, and you've got your full-backs coming up. But that final third it's been shocking, It really is. And you buy a striker like him, but you're getting no service, and you just think, well, and you've got Garnacho on the bench, you've got Pellistri, whether the experience strong enough yet, I don't know, but you've got to play with wingers to him. And
Have you seen
just,
like
it's a bit
worse?
negative. Right?
Have you seen worse like final third play, like ever at Old Trafford?
No.
Never.
It's pretty poor. You know,
Worse than Van Gaal.
Oh, it's just we just lacking something. The final third for me is poor. And you know, you talk about why did he get rid of Fred? And people laughed at McTominay and Fred, but Fred you knew what you were getting with Fred. You know, he'd give you everything in every game, and that's all you want. You know, you just want players to run through a brick wall for you. And last season, everyone wanted McTominay gone. He's been the best player this season.
Yes, Paul. Yes.
You know, but people wanted him out, and you know he's doing okay. He's playing okay, and you know what you're getting with him. Every game he'll try. You know, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he'll give everything.
Leading goal scorer.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, I don't know. It's just you've got to play to our strengths, and at the moment we're not doing it. It's just a bit too negative for me at the moment.
Does he think he needs to go back to counter-attacking then?
I don't know. I just change it a bit. You know, play with the wingers. The kids are fearless. You know, you know, Garnacho would have started with him yesterday. You know, he's the only player we've got on the pitch that would take a lad on. No one else can take people on. Rashford tries it. You know what Anthony's going to do every game. He's going to come inside. Garnacho's the only one that actually gets you off your seat. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, and probably since Kanchelskis and Giggs, when was the last player that you watched who gets the ball and you're off your seat? We've not had that since Kanchelskis, I don't think.
Anana, to be honest. Terrifies me. Onana, whenever he gets the ball.
Well, yeah. but we just lack that, I don't know, intensity. I don't know what it is. It's just, they don't excite you anymore. You know, and I knew what the result was going to be yesterday before I even kicked the ball, and I think most of us did. You know, you feared the worst, really. And that's not Manchester United, you know. It's just, we're just lacking passion.
Something.
I think. Yeah, it's just the excitement. You know, you don't mind getting beat, but you know the fans are paying a lot of money to come and watch crap at the moment, and it's you know no one's barring Garnacho. I think the rest of them. You know, when was the last time you saw someone take a lad on? You know, dribbling and you know he gets you off your seat. You know whether football's changed, I don't know, but. You look at City, it's so intricate, and they pass. Everyone knows where the next person is, and they don't have to look, you know. And it was men against boys yesterday, which saddens me to say, but you know, there's something lacking with the passion. But I don't know.
Half time.
Yeah,
I heard a yes.
Yes.
Part way through that conversation,
you did.
You obviously agree with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
On his choice of who's been the best player this season. What is it about? It's obviously he's mentioned passion. Is that something that the rest of the players need?
Look, there's so much stuff that all these players need. I think Paul's completely right. Like how we enter the final third, there's no pattern, there's no plan, there's no consistency. We get the ball out. Like the only guy I think that seems to be performing well, well, the two in the final third, are Dalot, who will commit a man and go to the byline and try and get something in, and McTominay, simply because McTominay is scoring goals. Right, he's a leading Premier League goal scorer. He's the only one that is producing anything in the box. Personally, we're going to look at like the amount of money that Ten Hag has spent and the signings in a second. But what I don't understand is how we can have a tactical manager who has done very well, a respected but not a brilliant club, and now we're giving him a shitload of money. Like, and what have we got? We got shit all over the pitch. There's just nothing good. And like here you can see the signings. I added this up twice. It's £410.3 million that he spent on those players. And Monday, I'd love you to tell me who you think is value for money there?
Right. Let's have a look at this list. Casemiro, I think what he done last season was good. I'd forget the price tag. He's bringing experience, something we didn't have. And before that, we didn't have a midfield. We were complaining about fuckeries, as Mr. B would say. That was Fred and McTominay. So he brought a bit of quality in and experience. And I think he's been a good player. Pound for pound, good for the money. We came third last season. I like Rasmus. I think paying that sort of money for a young man is not too bad. Same with Anthony. At the time, we thought he was young. He ticked the boxes. A lot of money, but we needed someone left-footed, play off the right. And I think he's got a long way to go before he proves himself. I don't see Sancho on this list. He obviously wasn't signed under this management. I think Malacia started okay last season. He's faded. He's got injuries at the moment. Martinez has been a good value for money player. He looked like a good player, but he sort of dropped off. So no one stands out as outstanding. But for me, out of that list, surprisingly enough, I would say Casemiro for what he did last year. He came up with some really good goals, showed that fight sometimes, gave us a bit of experience as well. And I think he's a good player to have in and around the dressing room. So I think for 70 million, and from where we were at, he gave us a jump and gave us full sense of where we're at, really, by coming third in the league because of what he produced last season, and it helped us out. But now we're seeing the true form, and I think it's about taking a step back and actually rebuilding properly. What you see with most of these players, apart from Eriksen and Evans and Casemiro, they're kind of young, and that's a good model to go with as well. So I'm not going to criticise all of them. They've still got a long way to go. I think we should, like you said, Martha, I think we should judge these guys by Christmas or by the summer to see, especially the ones that were signed this year and recently, to see how they're getting on. I think Eriksen's been good. I like the way he plays. I like the way he dictates tempo. He's a very good player, two-footed as well. But yeah, and we'll see with the others. There's still a lot. I'm looking at the bottom there. I'd have to say I was disappointed with him. I was disappointed with him. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the signs.
Paul, what are your thoughts on that £410.3 million spent? Are they all a waste of money? Is there anybody that you think is better than the Monday's?
Oh, look! Again, you've got to give them time. You know, it's a big club to come to. This is I spoke about before. To play for Manchester United, it's not like any other club. I don't think. I think Ten Hag did say it. A lot of players can't deal with the shirt on the back. It weighs heavy on them. You've got to give them time. Look, I don't know. The players don't ask for that fee. It's what the club spends. You know, it's what the club want to spend on it. So you can't blame the players. It does weigh heavy on them. And look, you've just got to give them time. I think it's Martinez. Unfortunately, has been injured. You know, I thought he had the fire in his belly. You mentioned Casemiro, terrific last season. I think he's great in the air. You know, this year not as good, but look, give them time. You've got to give them time, and you feel sorry sometimes with the players. Not feel sorry, but you're weighed down with the price tag, and look, they're not responsible for whatever the club pays for them, and they're all good players. They've got the talent. And hopefully Ten Hag can tap into it and bring them through. You know, you look at the past in Ferguson era, Bruce and Pallister. I remember that they came to Old Trafford and they just looked like fishes out of water. And you know, in time they develop and they become great players. You know, I think you've just got to give them time without sort of pointing the finger too soon. And of course, it's a lot of money, but that's the Premier League now. You know, the people that. And youth as well, you know, you're wanting those lads coming through. You know, that Maino, you know, he looks like a cracker. And you know, the young kids at the end of the day, and just give them time, and hopefully they'll come good. But it's tough. I don't want to slag anyone off. I wouldn't do that anyway. Yeah, we'll be fine. I think hopefully.
It's not hopefully. We will be fine.
Of course, yeah. We've said it before. You know, we've had dark days in the past, and this is a time where we're struggling at the moment. But we'll be back. There's no question about it.
Bath time. You're
Hello.
our tactics guy. Obviously, just earlier on, you were talking about our worst final third, seeing how United play in the final third. What do you feel could be changed? Obviously, we had Paul talking about having wingers who actually want to feed the forwards, which means that maybe Rashford wouldn't be playing, and maybe Anthony wouldn't be playing, or maybe they would be starting on a different side. But look, this is the chances our forwards have been creating this season. And this tends to look, it's in black and white here, or blue and white. Courtesy of Sky, thank you very much. What do you feel is could be changed? Look at the numbers; they're disgusting.
Yeah. Like, look at Rashford. Like, I think that he has taken the second most shots in the league this season, and has scored 1 goal and has 1 assist, and that's dreadful. Like, that to me looks how I imagine Crystal Palace numbers would look when Zaha was there, and they only had like one player to kind of work through. I mean, it's just, a lot of this is pretty shocking to me, because when we put like the 3 slides that we just seen like in order, we got Ten Hag talking about style of play, that he's not able to implement the Ajax style of play. We then see his transfer spend, which is 410 million. And then we look at the expected goals and the chances, and we're just still relying on Rashford. I don't think that this is acceptable for the standards of Manchester United, or indeed any bloody football club. And I know OMONDI completely dismissed the value for money part of his of the question, because it didn't serve his agenda. But I look at this, I look at the money that's been spent, and it's just not working, is it? Like, the final third, we're not creating chances. There's no style of play. And I saw someone in the comments earlier saying, stop parroting Carragher about style of play. But the style of play is when you have 3 or 4 players that continuously connect in order to create a chance for someone. And what is that at Manchester United? All we do is hit long balls trying to target the channel. Like, there's no one's coming back. There's no second play build up. There's absolutely nothing. And we've spent almost $500 million we've spent $500 million trying to create this team. And this is the net total of what we have, which is 1 goal and 1 assist from these players. And it's not good enough. And it's got to change. And if it doesn't change, I'm Ten Hag out, like, completely. He's got to change this.
So the fact that on Monday, obviously you play in defence. You like that part of the game. If you had to play your season with a new goalkeeper and 4 of your first team defenders out, how do you think you're going to perform?
Not very well. But I'll be looking ahead of me as well. As a defender, you see the whole pitch. And I'll be looking. We watch every game, don't we? You do live watchalongs. I'm seeing us get into situations where we are 1 pass or 2 good decision away from scoring goals. Every game, even last season, we create chances. This is something that we have to admit. We are creating chances. So regardless of what you say about the tactics and it's not working, and regardless of something's working, because we are creating chances, but we're just not finishing our dinner. That's the problem, and we're spilling it all over our bib. Is
Benny McCarthy still at the club?
Well, everyone was picking him up about, oh, look, it must be Benny McCarthy every time we score a goal. It must be Benny McCarthy. Come on, guys, get off that. I mean, Benny McCarthy is a great striker, but surely he's not coming in and performing miracles like that. And no one's talking about him now, are they? Look at this record: no goals, or 1 goal out of just 6 attacking players there on that list. Now, that's not good enough. Clearly, something has to change in the final third, and I think these players need to start delivering. We mentioned, like, a few years ago, we had Martial, Rashford, and Mason Greenwood. performing for under Ollie. 3 players getting double figures goals. That's what you want to see. It's not like the 2-man strikers anymore. It's 3 forwards now, and you want to see a combination of goals from these so-called wide men, but they're forwards. You have to put them down as forwards now. That's why Liverpool being so successful with Salah and Mane and Firmino, because they all got goals and they were all forwards. And look at them now. Look at them now. They got Jota. Where does Jota play? I don't even know. He's a centre forward. He's a wide guy. They got Jota, Salah, and they got Nunes as well. These are all centre forwards ish, in a way. I know Salah's different. He's just a machine, isn't he? He's just such a great athlete. But these guys are scoring goals now. If you're not getting enough out of Anthony, we got enough out of Rashford last season, and now we've got centre forwards, which we all desired. And we should be licking our lips saying, right, sign it will click. But these guys have got to learn to play together. And I think Rashford scored a lot of goals last season, but now he's not contributing with the team. He's not playing with his teammates. He's not bringing people in. He's always getting the ball, looking to get up, to get on his right foot and shoot. So I think he's a bit selfish. I hate to say it, but I think he needs to contribute more as a team. And I think the manager should be pulling him up, especially about that, because everything just breaks down. So to clarify, I do think we are creating a lot of chances. It's just about making it click. That's why I keep saying one of these days we're going to lick somebody down, maybe double figures, and say, there it was. I just think that's what it takes sometimes. Get that confidence going, because you only gain confidence from achievement. And I think once it all clicks, it might work in training and all that kind of thing. But when it comes to the game and nothing's happening and people get despairing and maybe they're arguing or giving each other side eye in the dressing room and rolling their eyes at other players and mumbling and that kind of thing, it's got to click. We need to beat someone up badly and then get that sort of Ipswich Town result, and then people will be like, okay, this is how it's done. Sometimes that's as simple as that's all it takes as a team and as for players as well. So I'm quite confident that sooner or later it's going to happen.
Sooner or later, maybe. It needs to be a lot sooner than later. I mean, we've always had big characters. We've always had big characters at the club.
Nice.
And we're talking about, when we talk about characters, we talk about leaders, whether they've been made captain or not. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of issues with what we feel is leadership at the club. Paul. We've had Captain Roy Keane. Look, Roy Keane is probably the top level captain, but Ashley Young captained the club while to the latter part of the time that he was there as well. We've now got Bruno. What are your maybe it's not his personal. How do you think he portrays himself as a captain on the pitch? Do you think it's something that you as a player would aspire to? Do you think it's inspirational? Or do you think that maybe the histrionics are putting the rest of his team off?
Yeah, I think you're right. You've got your lead with example, don't you? You guys would know, and it's just the way he moans and dives about. And it's like you say about Roy Keane, Brian Robson. These guys were terrific. They were strong, they were tough, they led by example. And people, you want to, when the shit hits a fan, you want to look at your leader and say, this is, we've got him in the team, he's got our backs. With Bruno, you don't seem to get that. But then if you take it off Bruno, who do you give it to? I don't think there's anyone there that, for me, I want to, like Roy Keane said, you go to war, and you want a leader that would do anything for you, and he's strong and in the tackles, and you pulls everyone together, even when the shit it's a fan, But I don't think Bruno gives that. But then, who would you give it to? I wouldn't know who else would take over the reins. Really, it's just, and that's a sad thing to say. But I can't see a leader on the pitch. I haven't seen a leader on the pitch for probably 5-6 years. To be fair,
so long.
No one that springs to mind anyway. Yeah.
On Monday, would you give the captain to Maguire?
Well, I wouldn't have taken off him in the first place. You know, I'm a big fan of Maguire. So let's read this statement here. And I'm with Paul. But Brian Robson, Captain Marvel. I mean, that's a real captain to me, traditionally. First of all, we have to identify what's the criteria of being a good captain. Me and BATHTIME have talked about this in the past. And that's important to establish. What is the criteria in 2023 for being a good captain? Who's captain of Man City? They're successful. Who's captain?
Was Gundogan
Silver? I don't know. So,
I have no idea.
not sure.
Is he a Brian Robson type? Is he a Roy Keane type? No. I think times have changed. So whoever it is, captain of Man City right now, it was Gundogan, like you said, who lifted the trophies last year for the treble. Is he a guy who's going to be stringing people up and go flying into tackles? No. It's a different style of play now and everything else. That's why I think I'm not complaining too much about Bruno. It's only yesterday when he's kicking out Goku or whatever his name was, get done. I think that was what's got fans sort of jumping on him again. Everyone says he's not clutch. He doesn't deliver in big games. I think that's a myth as well. I think Bruno's one of our better players. And we've said this consistently on this show, that Bruno is one of our better players. He works flipping hard. He's going to be playing every week because he's never injured. So that's another reason he should be captain. I think he's positive with his contributions. He makes a lot of assists. He's got good numbers. I think he's a figurehead for our club. If you look at all our players and line up like the Champions League, where they scope across all our players, I look to him and say, yeah, he's a good player. And I'm sure oppositions will be saying, stop Bruno, you stop Manchester United as well. Everything comes through him anyway. He's a key player for us. So I haven't got an issue about him being captain. I'm disagreeing with Roy Keane here. He said, I would definitely take the captaincy off Bruno Fernandes. He's the opposite of what I would want in a captain. What does he mean here? Is he talking about petulance or something like that? These are the dark arts that European players bring to the game. It wins you free kicks. It wins you fouls. It wins you, favour a lot of the time. It might wind people up as well. You never know what goes on. But these are the dark arts. And Roy Keane does it. These are the things that are done hidden. Roy Keane does it blatantly, stamping on players and kicking people's legs and knees out. There's a difference. I like Bruno. He's subtle with it. When we see him play for Portugal, he's fantastic. I think we should keep him for now as captain. There's no point throwing him out as captain. That just shows that there's no leadership above. He was given the captaincy. Stick with it because he's one of our best players and he's never injured.
BATHTIME. You've played, obviously. You've played Latin American. Is that right? Have I got that?
That's
Latin
correct.
American. Right. You've played Latin American football. Obviously, the culture is similar to Bruno. Have you come across players in your team who had the histrionics? And if it did, do you feel it may be a culture thing? Or was it something that really wound up the rest of your team?
I mean, to be honest, like at the start, I was probably the most. This will shock you. I was probably the most dramatic person on the pitch. But so at Latin America, it's very simple. Who was captain? It was the eldest or the longest serving player on the pitch. It wasn't a big deal. And what you had was that it was mainly about standards in training. To be perfectly honest, it was the captain was there to make sure that everyone was applying themselves and no one was taking time off and messing about, that we were coming in to be serious and we were working. And I've said this a lot, but no captain has ever made me play better. It's for me, I think it's extremely overrated, the captaincy stuff. Obviously I never played with Robson and Keane, and they're regularly described as inspirational, but I think what Roy Keane is talking about is about his behaviour on the pitch is embarrassing with the petulance. What you have to remember is that Roy Keane's greatest performance against Juve as captain was he was booked out of the final and he just became Godzilla and got us there. There was no crying, there was no looking back in the past, navel gazing, whinging. It's a huge difference between what Bruno does when we're getting a beating and what Keane did to get us back in the game. And I understand why Roy Keane says take the captain off him, because I think that it's embarrassing. But also, on a pragmatic view, I kind of agree with OMONDI, because the captain in the Premier League is one of the only players that's allowed to constantly talk to the ref. And Bruno's going to get a yellow card every bloody match if he's not captain from his whinging. But for me, I don't think that there are any of the traditional leaders that we used to see in the Premier League. Like last season, Gundogan, captain at Man City, Henderson, I think Odegaard at Arsenal. These are not the players we associate with,
True.
with Terry, Keane, Gerrard, the rest of them. It's changed. But I'm of the opinion that if Bruno Fernandes has been made captain, he's got to act like one on the pitch. And that means with dignity. Like, he's representing Manchester United as the captain. I don't want to see him kicking players. I don't want to see him crying. And because I think it sets a bad example for Anthony to come on and just try and boot Doku. Like, I don't know. So I understand what Rory Keane is saying. I understand what Omondi is saying. But I also think the captain isn't that important unless standards on the training ground are low. And then I look to Bruno and to the senior players.
Okay. We're going to run on to Mount. Obviously, this is a player who a lot of people should just be replaced. I saw a couple of people in the chat talking about Mount replacing Bruno. The United stand understands there has been no fallout between Mason Mount and Erik Ten Hag. However, at board level, it is thought that due to Mason Mount wearing the iconic number 7 shirt, he should be getting more game time. The lack of game time is not good business, and having him sitting on the bench is thought to have financial implications of having a star number not in regular use. Is this what it all boils down to? Do you think Ten Hag is Ten Hag's player at the end of the day? Do you feel that maybe Mount isn't playing because Bruno is it's Bruno's best position? And do you feel that maybe if Mount played it or was given a chance, we talk about giving players chances. We've got Newcastle on Wednesday. I would love Bruno not to play and Mount to play in the number 10, but do you think that would cause Ten Hag a little bit more pressure? I'm going to put that to you, Paul.
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, I don't get why we bought Mount in the first place, to be fair, with the midfield that we've got. And like you said, I think we've got 3 players in the same position. So I wasn't sure why we bought him. Again, give the kid a chance. I think he's a good player, Mount, but he's similar to what we've got. And, is he any better than what we've got? I don't think he is, to be fair. But you've got to give him a chance. And again, it's one of those. I don't like talking ill of any United player, because I think. But I'm not sure. I think Mount's okay. Should he have got the number 7? I don't know. Who would you give it to? It's a tough one. It really is, and it's tough questions for me because I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know why we bought him, because we've got similar players already at the club. And again, back to the Fred. I wouldn't have got rid of Fred. I know people joked and laughed about him, but he gave you everything. And Mount's very similar to what we've got, so it's a tough one.
Monday.
Well, first of all, I think Paul is always in the players' lounge, and that he's not really ripping anyone apart like us in a way. So he's probably has to face up to them and doesn't want anything to be said. Now, I respect what he's saying there, Paul, about Mount. I think we just need to give the guy more time. Look, credentials, he's got it. He played at Chelsea. He's a talented youngster. He plays for England as well, England international. What more do you need to like about him? He's an English-based player, homegrown value as well. You're going to pay a bit more money for him. I understand that as well. He's going to be a squad player, I believe. Someone who can come in and out of the squad, and someone I think will give 100%. That's one of his main attributes. He works really hard, and he's got good qualities as well with his crossing, with his shooting and delivery, and he works really hard off the ball. So I think it's a good signing. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, but it's someone, if you've got someone like that in and around the squad, I think someone's going to be positive for the squad going forward. Yeah. He's at the right age as well. So I'm all for Mason Mount. I think at first I was like, Mount, but the more I looked into it and the more I understand it's a good value signing. People saying, "Oh, Maddison, they got relegated. We should have signed him. Look what he's doing at Spurs and everything else." I think good signing. That would be a good signing as well. That's another one. And thing. But when people, I understand that he's clogging up. There's maybe a number of players in that position. I get that as well. What you're saying there, Paul. But I also think there's timing. If someone's available at the time, you might have to change your plan and say, "All right, let's get him in now." And you know, we might not have wanted him directly now, but he was available. Maybe let's just take him as we do. So I'm with Mount. I'm going to back him, and I just think everyone should back him as well. Get behind the guy, because things like negativity, like when opposition teams come to our ground and we boo them, we get on them, and we show that kind of passion, you know, it makes a difference. Likewise, if we get on the backs of players, it makes a difference too. So get behind Mason Mount, guys.
Yeah. First things first. Big T. It was a quote, and yes, I will never ever do that again. I will never ever do that again. Bath time. Sorry.
Yeah, it was me that did it. Because I thought that regardless of what you think of that channel, I think that their sources are quite good, but this one I think is extremely questionable. I think to say, like, why is Mount not playing when he's number 7 is something that might come from the boardroom, to be honest. But I think it talks to a larger point, which is that Mount should never have been given the 7 shirt. I don't think any of them should have them.
Should just be left blank, yeah.
I think until you've earned that shirt, you can't. You're not allowed to have it. It's too sacred and important, and it weighs too heavy. Like, I quite like Onana didn't take the number 1 shirt. He took the 23 or whatever it is, and then 24. Maybe 24. Yeah, maybe he'll take the number 1 eventually. But I like Mount as a player. I can see tactically why he might like have some certain benefits, but in games he's played with Bruno, especially against Chelsea, he had, I think, 13 touches in one match. So we're using a sort of a technical player as a runner, and I don't think that makes sense. And like previously, when Bruno used to go to the right wing, he did it when we were like 1 goal up, and we put Bruno on the right, and then we'd clog the midfield. Now he's starting Bruno out on the right wing. It's absolutely crazy. But I think that Mount could be a good signing, but I wonder if there was a better use of 60 million to be spent. To be honest, like we could have got Kane.
Well, they might not have done the deal. Paul, guys, if you did join us late, we've got a special guest who gave us his views on Man United. He joined us on the channel. Paul, I introduced you before. Before we close, I want you to talk about yourself and who you're actually related to, because some people still might not have clicked.
Well, I won't talk about myself because I'm not that interesting. But my grandfather was Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy Murphy was Matt Busby's assistant after the war. A great relationship, and then he managed Wales, the international team. Hence, not being at the game at Red Star Belgrade. He was managing Wales versus Israel in the qualifiers for the World Cup in 1958. Obviously, we all know the tragic events that took place in Munich. Grandad came back from the Welsh game, met by Alma George in at Old Trafford. Jimmy, there's been a crash. He said it took him a while for him to sink in. Obviously, there was no social media then. There was no quick response. He didn't know who died. Was anyone dead? Was anyone injured? Did anyone survive? And then news filtered through that players had lost their lives. He got the players' families together. They went to Munich to visit the injured. Brought back by land Bill Fowkes and Harry Gregg because they were too scared to fly, and built the team around that. And then Bobby Charlton came back went back home to Ashington. My granddad went to see him and said, "We need you back. You will be the kingpin of this team that I need to rebuild." Matt's asked me to keep the flag flying. We need you back at Old Trafford, and he did. They reached Wembley 4 months later, and then 10 years on, they win the European Cup. A great story of tragedy and the pain that he must have gone through to lose the players that he lost, to go to the funerals. But there was funerals, there was 2 on some days together, and he had to choose which funeral to go to. 2 weeks later, he lost one of the greatest players that ever graced Old Trafford, and I always get upset with this. The great Duncan Edwards, who he said was one of the greatest players he's ever seen at 21. Now, bearing in mind, Grandad had managed John Charles, he'd seen Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, Georgie Best. Until his dying day, he said Duncan Edwards was the greatest he's ever seen. And it sends shivers down my spine about how good Duncan Edwards was for my granddad to say that after the players that he'd managed and coached. A great granddad, a lovely man, the most humblest man you'd ever meet. And he must have had a heart of stone, because I don't know of anyone else that could have gone through what he went through and still carried that flag. And yeah, it's a tragic story, but what I'm very proud of. A statue was erected in June. We fought 2 years, we united to get this statue, because I said you could stand outside Old Trafford and ask 100 people who Jimmy Murphy was, and probably 70% would say, we don't know. And you could ask the question in 1958, who wore the team out in the FA Cup final v Bolton, and probably not a lot of people would know that it was Grandad, it was Jimmy Murphy. He went through hell and back, and he did, as his boss said, keep the red flag flying. He did it to his best of his ability, and 10 years later we win the European Cup. Very proud to call him the Grandad.
Oh, wow.
You know what?
My battery's on 2%, by the way. So
right, look, sorry, man. Look, you know what?
Sorry.
That got me emotional. And to have that read from a family member, said and said on our channel, our little channel, I've got nothing but love and admiration for everything you've said there, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Listen, and thank you so much for inviting me. And I will follow your channel, and I'll listen in. And thank you so much for having me. I'm on 1%, so it might just die.
No problem. Look,
I'll be in touch with you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Lads, it's so lovely to have had a chat with you. I'm not very good at all this, so I apologise if I've let you down in any way. But
no, absolutely fantastic,
thank you so much.
mate. Thank you.
Good luck, and God bless you all.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, that was
very special. It's funny, really. I was going to ask him, John Charles or Duncan Edwards, because John Charles is an absolute beast of a footballer, and for him to say that just speaks volumes about how great Duncan Edwards was. But yeah, what an emotional speech there about his grandfather, legend of the club, and thankfully he's got the statue there now. So people, you don't die until you're forgotten. And in regards to Man United, these legends will never be forgotten. So enough respect to Jimmy Murphy.
I think there's only 5 men with a statue at Old Trafford, and he's one of them, and that shows how linked to the club he is. Without that man's grandfather, it's fair to say that there might not be a Manchester United now. So it's a great honour to have someone from that bloodline on, and I hope that everyone here really sort of connects and appreciates the tragedy and the glory of Manchester United. It binds us all together, and real privilege.
You know what, guys?
You know what?
We've tried some. Yeah, come on there, go.
That's true. I mean, look, this is an hour and 10 minute show. I'm sitting here, get tired. I've got to get up to work in the morning, and I've got piles and piles of ironing to do.
No, I'm on.
I don't know which one is worse.
You should have just ended it there.
Oh my name. Oh, keep them coming. One day we're gonna find one really funny.
Likes and subscribes, please.
Guys, look, if you are new to the channel, please hit the like button. You know who we had on today. Just do us a favor. If you can even just clip it and share it, or share the show on your social media, because there's a lot of, look, it might not be us who educate them. It might be you that gave the share that educates them. If somebody else learns, my son now knows about Jimmy Murphy, you know, and so that's one. And I know he's got a big mouth, so he's educating the rest of them in his football team. So guys, look, share that one. It will be really appreciated. Half time.
What
can I say, man? Superb today, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, on Monday, as always.
Big up,
Thank
man.
you, guys in the chat. It was a long one. We know that you don't have to be here. We know, and we're really glad that you are. We will be back tomorrow. We've got a preview of the demolition job that we're going to give Newcastle. But look, we'll get into that tomorrow. Guys, I said, look, thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and we're out.